Psychology. So this is a very nice book. So you remember where we are. Already we have mentioned that with regards to Mahaprabhu's teachings, there's some ingredients. You remember that? Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has compiled all these teachings, and where they all coming from. So, like mostly Chaitanya Charitamrita, no? And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's so many, through his Mahaprabhu's associates, the Mahaprabhu is trying to teach all these very important things. So, what are examples? Of course, when Mahaprabhu was in Navadvip, then he's showing like how they're following this Harinam Sankirtan, you know, but especially when he took sannyas, then with different associates, they're some important tattvas. So like with Sanatana Goswami, what is there? Like mostly about Sambandha, with who else? Rupa Goswami, about Abhidheya, then Rai Ramananda also very important. Mostly this one about Prayojan, Rai Ramananda. Then, conversation with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. No? What is that? Like refuting all these misconceptions. No? But also in that chapter, there's all this glorification of Mahaprabhu, like Gopinath Acharya. Some important verses like showing Bhagavata of Mahaprabhu. Many others. What else? Shikshastakam, of course, Mahaprabhu himself. So like those. And he's saying that these are like summarized into 10 teachings. We call it Dasamud. Same things nicely explained also in Jaiva Dharma. So you can remember them? Like the very first one is Praman Tattva. You know, Praman Tattva, meaning the evidence. So before teaching, then you're establishing what is the basis of all these teachings. So what is our Praman? Praman Tattva? Amnaya. It's called Amnaya. The revealed scriptures giving all this knowledge, and this is handed down by the bona fide disciplic succession. So that is Amnaya. So only this is the superior like evidence. There are other evidences, but they are not the main evidence. If they support the Amnaya, then we accept. If they don't, then we don't accept like this. And of course, in this world, the most prominent evidence people accept is what? Is pratyaksha, direct perception. There's a witness, and you believe. So now that's the first one, no? So then there's 9. So the next 9 are the actual teachings. So you remember now when we talk about the teachings, they are divided into 3. They already analyzed them. What are they? Sambandha, Abhidheya, Prayojan. So we already learned. Among the 9, how many is on Sambandha? 7. And there's 1 on Abhidheya and 1 Prayojan. So now we're still we're in this discussion on Sambandha. We discussed so far how many already? Of the 7. We discussed 3. All about Bhagavan. And what is that? That is Paramatattva. What else? Second? Yeah, Sarva Shaktiman. There's a whole discussion about Shakti coming from him. And about Rasa. That he is the source of Rasa, he is the taster of Rasa, he is Rasa. And he is the enjoyer of Rasa, ocean of Rasa. So now, this is where we stop. We begin in the fourth one, which is about the jiva. So we can continue now. Tivinoda Thakur said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave very beautiful and concise instructions regarding the jiva to Sanatana Goswami. One can easily understand jiva tattva by accepting these instructions. Okay, so we only need to accept this instruction and very easy understand all about jiva tattva. Where do we find this? This instruction to Sanatana Goswami. In Sanatana Shiksha, where is that? In Madhya Lila, 22nd chapter. You want to read the whole thing. This is 22nd chapter of Madhya Lila. So he's quoting here from Madhya Lila. He said, Advayagyan Tattva Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Swarup Shakti Rupe Tara Hoy Avasthan. Shri Krishna is the non-dual absolute truth. Advayagyan Tattva. We discuss this, we don't know. He is Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead, and is always with his personified Swarup Shakti. Who is that, Radharani? Then he said, Swamsa Vibhinamsa Rupe Hoya Vistar Ananta Vaikunta Brahmande Korena Bihar. So how did he translate that in English? He said, he expands himself in the forms of his own plenary expansions. Meaning his very direct expansions is called Swamsa. Like Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Niruddha. In different incarnations such as Nrsimha, in the forms of his separated expansions known as his Vivinamsa. So here actually in the verse it says Swamsa Vivinamsa Rupe, in the form of his Swamsa and Vivinamsa. Okay, so we know the difference. Swamsa means directly like his expansion, and Vivinamsa like separate. The direct one like is directly same, like plenary. Like a candle, you make another candle, they're all like same. No. They're in the same category. But the Vivinamsa, they are separate. And we're talking about the jivas now. So he's saying here that in his form of Swamsa and Vivinamsa, in the form of his associates, he also expands himself to enjoy his pastimes within the material universes and also in the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. So, Bhagavan, that's how he enjoys himself. No, he's not only in one place, he's in all aspects. Even in the material world, then he's enjoying like this. So, Swamsa Vistar Chatur Vyuha Avatar Gana Vibhinamsa Jiva Tara Shakti Te Ganan. The Vibhinamsa Jivas are transformation of Bhagavan's energy, and therefore they have been accepted as belonging to Shakti Tattva. Shri say Vibhinamsa Jiva Dui Tapakar Eka Nitya Mukta Eka Nitya Samsar. So this is talking about the Vibhinamsa Jiva. The Vibhinamsa Jivas have two types. Nitya Mukta, eternally liberated, and Anadibadha. Conditioned souls have been bound by opposition to Bhagavan since time immemorial. The eternally liberated souls, I'm just going to read all the Sanskrit and all the Bengali, and we'll read the English. So he said, Nitya Mukta, Nitya Krishna Charani Unmuk. Krishna Parishad Naam Bunje Sevasu. Nitya Baddha, Krishna Hoite, Nitya Behirmuk. Nitya Samsar Bunje Narak Adi Du. Se Doshi Maya Pisachi Danda Koetare Adyatmikadi Tap Kroy Tari Jari Mari. Kam Prodera Dasha Hoyatara Tahi Bhakai Brahmiti Brahmiti Jari Sadhu Vaidya Bhai Tara Upadesh Mante Pisachi Palai Krishna Bhakti Pai Tadi Krishna Nikati Jai. They're saying, okay, there's two types, no? The eternally liberated and the here that Anadi Baddha Jivas. Is that the actual the actual term. Here it says Nitya Baddha, Krishna Nitya Bahirmu. Now, sometimes people they get confused with this. They say Nitya Mukta, Nitya Baddha. So there's like eternally rated and eternally bound. So it's like, what is that? It's already determined that eternally bound like this. So we have to understand, this is category of the jivas. There are two types of jivas, and there's the categories there. So we're Tatashta, you can, right now we are in that category of the Nitya Baddha. Because there's unlimited jivas, and it won't be like, there'll be no more Baddha jivas. That one will always be there. That there will be bound jivas. But it does not mean this is a category, the jiva. Like you, right now we are in this category, we're bound in zero. So we belong to this category. But by association with sadhus, and now you're connected to Swarup Shakti, then you can become liberated. And you can enter into that category. But here it's actually explained that, okay, who are the Nitya Muktas? The eternally liberated souls perpetually remain serving the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. They are eternally there serving Krishna. They are called Krishna Parsads or Parikar, the associates. Now, and there are really that kind of jivas. We don't call them jivas actually. They are called like Parikars, the Parshads, coming from Baladev. They're there eternally. But of course, like us, we're coming from the Tashta, coming from Vishnu. We originally in this category as the Baddha, like that. But then you can enter there, and there, when you're there, there's no discrimination. No one is like this, like, you're a Baddha before, like that. There's nothing like that anymore. Everyone is Nitya there. Okay? And in that world, there's no consideration of time also, like this. So the conditioned souls have been bound in the cycle of birth and death since time immemorial. These Anadibada jivas suffer punishment in various hellish destinations and in hell itself. So this is the situation of the jivas here. We're not serving Krishna, and so then suffering. Even here in Swarga, there's still suffering there. So said there we are. The Anadibada jivas, they suffer punishment in various hellish destinations and in hell itself. The witch named Maya burns these forgetful souls who are opposed to Sri Krishna's service. How? They burn these forgetful souls that are opposed to Krishna's service. How? In the fire of the threefold miseries. Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, and Adidevi. You know them, no? Adhyatmic, those like from what's Adhyatmic? Body and mind, pain from body and mind. There's Adhibhautik. What is that? From other living entities, other good, from the goods. And Adidevic, meaning by the demigods. But you may not see the demigods, but you see this the suffering, how, where all these catastrophes, like that. So then conditioned souls become the servants of the six enemies, headed by, who do you think? The head of these enemies? Lust and greed. And constantly rotate within the miserable cycle of birth and death, old age and disease, suffering in various higher and lower species of life. This is what you call samsara. So everybody knows this. After ceaselessly wandering in this cycle, the jiva may, by good fortune, meet a spiritual physician in the form of Bhagavan's devotee. So, like anyone suffering disease, how you get relief? You go to a doctor, give you medicine. So you're like that. The devotee, they're like a spiritual physician. Through his instructions, then the witch Maya releases the jiva And upon receiving bhakti, he attains Sri Krishna and achieves the happiness of his service. Okay, this is like very shortcut, and there's many details of that. You know. But here we can have understanding of the jiva. Like that. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, in further teachings to Sri Sanatana Goswami about the jiva, Mahaprabhu states, Jiver Swaruphoy, Krishna Nityadas, Krishna Tatashta Shakti, Ved Aved Prakash, Suryam Sa Kiran, Jaiche Agni Jwala Chaya. I think this is a very famous verse. You know, this is like the root verse for like the whole discussion in Jaiva Dharma. That what is the swarup of the jiva? Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna, and he is Krishna's Tashta Shakti. The eternal and intrinsic constitutional position, the eternal and intrinsic constitutional position, the swarup of the jiva, is an eternal servant of Sri Krishna. He is a transformation of Sri Krishna's Tatashta Shakti, and is a different yet non-different manifestation from Sri Krishna. So that is what we use the term Ved Aved Prakash, a manifestation different and non-different. Just as a ray of sunlight is different and yet non-different from the sun, or as a spark is different and yet non-different from fire, there is a similar relationship between the individual soul and Bhagavan. So, by nature, we are saved in the sense that we are all like spiritual. We are not material. You know, we have this like consciousness. We all check that. You know, like conscious. So we're the same. But as far as like position, there's difference because Bhagavan is the master, he is Ishvara. The jiva is servant. Jiva is dependent, you know, and Krishna is independent. Because Krishna is his Shaktiman, and that's the first thing we establish. And the jiva is part of Shakti. And Shakti means independent. I mean dependent. Only the Shaktiman is independent. You may see Shakti doing activities, but this activity is not by own will of Shakti. Whatever we say like an independent will of Shakti, really that is based on the will of Shaktiman. That is. And in this way, they're not different also. Because when something is part of something, really they're one. The Shakti, Shaktimatarabe. He said the Shakti is really, he said, the function of Shaktiman. Like Jiva Goswami said like that. That the dharma of a vastu is, what is that? The swabhav of a vastu is its dharma. You know, like that. The nature of a vastu, anything that exists, has a swabhav, meaning has its nature. So that nature is its dharma. Dharma means its function. So in this way, Jiva Goswami said, the nature of Shaktiman is that, you know, he desires and he has independence, you know, Swaicha and Swatantra. You know, and so based on that, then these things are fulfilled by Shakti. So that's the function of Shakti based on the Shaktiman. So he's concluding that whatever, what is the dharma of Shaktiman is really the Shakti. So he said the internal and intrinsic position of the jiva is that we are the eternal servant of Krishna. So this is the swarup of the jiva. And we are the transformation of the Tatashta Shakti. So, although there's only one Shakti, but there's some, like, we call this, which category is that? The Vaibhav. Yeah? The Vaibhav of Shakti. That is whether this Chit Shakti, Tatashta Shakti, or Maya Shakti. In its original form, that is Chit Shakti. And in like shadow form, that's the Maya Shakti, material. It's like corrupted form. It's like a transformation from the original, like a reflection or a corrupted form. But in between, there's also like one special Shakti, like another part of Shakti, that can be on both. That's the Tatashta Shakti. That's the speciality of the Tatashta Shakti. It has the capacity to be invoked on both, like this. So that is the us. So Jiva is not part of, really, it's not Chit Shakti, it's not Maya Shakti. We have to understand, it's giving understanding. We are in that category, the Tatashta. In Srimad Mahaprabhu's teachings to Rupa Goswami, it is also stated, Eta Brahmanda Bhari Ananta Jiva Gana Chorasi Laksha Yonite Koroi Brahmana Keshagra Shadeka Bhaga Puna Satam Sapari Dara Sama Sukshma Jivera Swarupa Vichari. Now this one is not in the Sanatana section. This is the Rupa. Mahaprabhu's instruction to Rupa Goswami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting this. He said, there are limitless living entities. They're wandering throughout this universe. You know how many? In 8,400,000 different species of life. Chorasi Laksha, Unity. Koreti Brahmana. They're all wandering in the universe. The size of the living entity is described as 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. That is the suppleness of the swarup of the jiva. So really, who can count 1,000 parts of the hair? It's just there to show that very small. You cannot see it with your eyes. In Srimad Mahaprabhu's teachings to Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya about the nature of Ishvara and the Jiva, he says, Maya Disha, Maya Vasha, Ishvare Jive Bhed, Yena Jive Ishvara Saha, Koha Ta Abhed, Gita Shastre Jiva Roop Shakti Korimane, Yena Jive Bheda Koro, Ishvarera Swami. So this is the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. The Lord is the master of the illusory potency, and the living entity is controlled by it. And this is showing the difference now. You know, one difference is that the Lord is the controller, He is Ishvara. The Jiva is controlled. That is the difference between Bhagavan and the individual soul. Bhagavan is controller of Maya, the Jiva is controlled by Maya. However, you declare that the Lord and the living entities are not different. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living entity is established as a potency of the Supreme Person. And only in this way is the Jiva not different from the Lord. So, the essential meaning of these Mahavakyas is that the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chandra, is completely independent in his desire and possesses inconceivable potencies. By his own spiritual potency, the Chit Shakti, he performs pastimes with two varieties of expansions. What is that? Swamsa and Vivinamsa. The Swamsa is his personal expansion, and Vivinamsa, the separated expansions. He expands himself as his Swamsa expansions, manifesting his four-armed forms in Vaikuntha and the forms of unlimited avatars. So that's clear, no? That's Swamsa. Let's take note, the discussion is based on this, about the Jiva Tattva. So he's just giving a description how to differentiate the Jiva as an expansion of Bhagavan and the other direct expansions, which are the Swamsa. So the Swamsa are like those in Vaikuntha. They have four arms, and those that manifest in the material world, they have unlimited forms, sometimes like tortoise, sometimes like half man, half lion, dwarf, and so many others. And it's unlimited also, no? By his Vibhinamsa, so now with Vibhinamsa, he became the countless individual jivas. He becomes the countless individual jivas. The expansion of the personal samsa expansions is the activity of the complete Chit Shakti. In the Samsa Tattva, all incarnations are omnipotent, being in the category of Vishnu Tattva. Just as if unlimited lamps are lit from a central lamp, the original lamp does not diminish at all, and each of the lamps now has an individual form, but is possessed of the same potency as the original. We already referred this before in this introduction. There are all these footnotes, but they're so far away. Okay, let me just see. Because they're referring to the original verses. They're referring to the original verses to prove that. And mainly, I know you have faith. You accept this, so you can read all these original verses later. No. These are the praman, no, amnaya. Okay, so now, so he said, with the jivas, where are we now? So, he said, all Swamsa expansions are supreme controllers. Okay, all Swamsa expansions, they are Ishvara. They are supreme controllers and predominators. Therefore, unlike the jivas, they do not have the taste for karma, for like having fruitive activities. Okay, whatever their activity is, that's part of Bhagavan's Leela. And they are directly Chit Shaktis, like facilitation, using Chit Shakti. Okay, so that's Bhagavan's technology there. Now, they are all equal to Sri Krishna in terms of possessing desire. Okay, they are like the original fire and the same. So they are all equal to Krishna in terms of possessing desire. But all of them are subordinate to the desires of Sri Krishna. And why is that? Because Krishna is original, Swami Bhagavan. So he has an original desire that, I will want to enjoy, let's say, pastime and whatever. So then that desire is there, that they have their own independent desire. They're still controller like Krishna. Now, as far as the Vibhinamsa Tattva, the jivas. The jivas are minute and supremely subtle particles of the Chit Shakti in the form of separated expansions. Okay. Now, again, let us not be confused here. Because there's really a limitation with language, like English, especially when we start using Sanskrit terms. Because we hear Chit Shakti. Now here it says, and I don't know, that's like with the translation like here, the jivas are minute and supremely subtle particles of the Chit Shakti. So we're talking about the Chit Shakti here, but they're minute particles of that. There's really the Chit Shakti which is like complete, So when we talk about Chit Shakti, we're actually referring directly to Radharani and her Kaya Vyuha. They are the Chit Shakti. Okay, and everything activities under Chit Shakti, that's all in the spiritual world, the Chit world. Okay. But there's a minute and very subtle, like part of this Chit Shakti. And they are these separated expansions, in the form of separated expansions. This potency is called Tatastha Shakti. Okay, so he said, this Tatastha Shakti is a minute, like particle of this Chit Shakti. Now, Maya Shakti, that is completely like corrupted, So, that which is situated between the Chit Shakti and Maya Shakti is called the Tatastha Shakti. The Tatastha Shakti is neither a product of nor a part of the material energy. That you have to understand. When you say Tatastha Shakti, it's never a part or an effect or transformation of this Maya Shakti. It's from the subtle part of the Chit Shakti. Still, because the jivas are very minute, they may be controlled by Maya. So that's why they can be in both worlds, It's like they're from the chit world, like in that nature, from the chit shakti. But because they're very minute, they can be controlled by the Maya Shakti. Although they're not part of this Maya Shakti, but they are controlled. So in this way, they are situated in between. They taste the results of their individual material activities. The independent desire of Sri Krishna is the root cause of the jivas. So this is, we have to understand that there's the root cause of the jivas. This is still the independent desire of Krishna. Everything is Krishna's desire. As Vipinamsa, spirit soul, separated parts of Krishna, the jivas are subject to the results of their own fruitive activities. When the jivas, by their independent desire, are engaged in the service of Krishna, they are no longer subordinate to Maya or karma. However, if they desire to enjoy separately, due to misuse of their independence, then they forget the dharma of service to Sri Krishna. Bewildered by Maya, they become subordinate to karma. Even so, if due to great good fortune, they achieve the association of sadhus, while rotating in the cycle of material existence, by the mercy of those sadhus, they can again remember that service to Sri Krishna in their constitutional dharma. At this point, mukti, liberation, immediately approaches and free them from the machinations of Maya, the bonding of fruitive activity and its concomitant reactions. Okay, one thing here. Sometimes there's because sometimes people have very analytical brain and whatever terms they use, they try to analyze like this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he uses words like forget, So then there's all this like some type of like doubt if this is the right word to use, like that. Some people have this kind of thing, and they question that, and up to the point that even have a feeling that it should be corrected, and some type of some people have that thing, but you have to appreciate Bhaktivinoda Thakur has analyzed this. So he's saying here, he's saying that when the jiva, by their independent desire, now we have some type of independence, like now individual jivas. Although we are dependent on Krishna, we are not totally independent. We have some exercise of some independence. You're free to move somewhere like that, to do something. If that is used in the service of Krishna, you are connected actually to Swarup Shakti. You are connected to your function. And he said, and in this way you are not subordinate to Maya. And this is not part of karma, because it's nothing to do about yourself. We're talking about someone engaging in the service of Krishna. You are now in the path of your actual dharma. But he said, however, if they desire to enjoy separately, and why does desire come? That's one thing. And you're able to do that because you have this free will to misuse your independence. You want to enjoy separately. Then he said they forgot the dharma of service to Krishna. He said, then you forget the dharma of service to Krishna. So some people, they have this idea that in the beginning, say, why when you say you forget, that means something you have, and then now as if like something you have and then you forget. No, it's like That's some I understand it is to forget. So he said like bhakti, so from the beginning we don't have bhakti, that's this idea of people. Some people, he said. And therefore they are this thing that bhakti is not inherent, like some ideas like that. Bhakti is not inherent. It's something given, like this. But he said like our swarup is Krishna's servant. You know? So it's a matter of like not so much sometimes when you think so much you just become confused. This is not our like our, how do you call it, like as practitioners of bhakti, like we're advised to be submissive, and of course we think, but the whole thing, this path of bhakti is understood by this like mood of submission, understanding that really I am nothing, like my mind cannot understand these things, and ultimately you'll be able to realize this later on anyway. But right now we're just in that position that I have to know, like I have to know, and it's like, and the danger is that you come to the point that you begin to become critical to what our acharyas have done. And sometimes you may have all this mood that no, we have to like not accept blindly like this. Okay, our acharyas are there, you can read all their explanations. But just be careful not to come to the point that you become like critical and thinking even that they made mistakes. Because there's always like explanation, and mostly if you're chanting very nicely and like something would click, like really this is true, like and then it's easy to understand. But it's like this, when we say forget, it does not mean that from the very beginning, like none of us are serving Krishna. Like here he's saying like, okay, if we are engaged in the service of Krishna, you may not know it or you may know it, but you're engaged in the service of Krishna. You are part of that dharma. And somehow you're experiencing something. But now you forget because your association with Maya, you have this desire, like you want to enjoy like this. You're forgetting that. And let's say, because who knows how we started in this material? Like really, how the jivas start? Because like there's unlimited like leelas, unlimited different situations. Okay, let's say you become like a very powerful like demigod, like Brahma, like that. You started like that, and maybe you're with some sadhus, or maybe you're part of the association of certain avatars. Like that is the very first time you let's say you manifest in this world, like very clean, like slate, like that. You're part of some pastime of some avatar of Krishna, like this. And in this way, like you're serving. But then you can forget, like this. And really, like even now, like we know, and you are taught, you are the servant of Krishna, and you are serving. But we can forget, very easy, like this. Just now we can be reminding. We go to sleep, from the time like we wake up immediately, we have to remind ourselves. Like you forget, like that. So we cannot like disregard that no, you should not use like remember, like forget. Because really, that is the situation. And up to now, you can be engaged in bhakti also, but you can forget. So he said, when we are bewildered by Maya, then we become subordinate to karma. We become under karma. Your activities will be based on the desire for your own, and there will be consideration of good and bad, some rewards for that, suffering, enjoyment, like this. This is the whole law in the material world. It's like this, karma. So even so, he said, even so, now you're under Maya, you're under karma, even so, if due to great good fortune, like, good fortune, he said, they achieved association of sadhus. Then, while rotating the cycle of material existence, they attain association of sadhus. By mercy of the sadhus, they can again remember that service to Sri Krishna in their constitutional dharma. So this is only the way out, actually. By association with sadhus, and you can remember. And also, be very careful, because you can remember, and you may even be doing already, but not very good association. You leave that association easily. Again, you can forget. But this is the way out. At this point, at that point, when you have association of the sadhus, and you begin to remember service to Krishna as your dharma, then at that point, mukti immediately approaches and frees them from the bondage of maya and this karma. Since the cause of their bondage occurs before the jiva's entrance into the material world, their bondage is said to be without beginning, anadi. For this reason, they are called eternally conditioned jivas, nitya buddhas. Such souls have not been bound like this, are called nitya mukta. Now, that category of the jivas, from the very beginning, we are already bound. Because we are manifest in the material world, we're part of the desire of, like sometimes the idea is that why are we part of the Tashta Shakti? Why we're not part of the Shakti? So why not? That's also the there's a desire of Shaktiman, and then the Shakti manifests according to the desire. Okay, so it's just a matter of now there's so many of us. Let's say Prabhuji will want to go to Jagannath Puri, and some who are his associates may say we want to go with you, but then some say we want to stay with here because to help support, maintain your projects or like that. So they have all these different personalities around, and they are doing what is necessary, like this. So we are part of that Shakti, that's manifest or supporting Shaktiman. So there's actually there's a Chit Shakti and everything all that about the parikars. They happen to be there in the eternal world, and then there's the Tatastha Shakti, and it so happened we're part of that. So we cannot say why we're part of this. That's just how we are. That's our nature. We're part of this Shakti that's supporting that. But then we just have to understand that really ultimately as Shakti, we are in the service of Shaktiman. And if you're in that service, then you are completely peaceful. You're happy. You're alive, like this. Your purpose is there. You serve, like this. So, with regards to the Tatashta Jiva, there's two kinds. One are the Nitya Muktas. They are the ones who are from the very beginning. They have not been bound. They are and they are the parikars, the parshals. But there are those who are from the very beginning. He said, even before the entrance to the material world, already their nature is bound, because they're part of the material world. They're part of the pastime of Mahavishnu. We're manifest from Mahavishnu. Like this. The principle of Jiva is there to support a support, servants. So there are those manifested by Baladev in the spiritual world, like that. But they're there as support, like servants. So it's happened, they're there. But once there, they have no experience of the material world. They're just there. There's some speciality on the Tatashta also. Because here you're experiencing like that, bound in Maya. But then you are part of that lila that you became a recipient of the mercy of Bhagavan. And then it does not disqualify you from also going there. Like this. So you have more experience actually. So that is the difference between the Nitya Baddhas and the Nitya Muktas. A special difference between the Swarup of Ishvara and that of the Jiva is that Ishvara is Maya Adish, the controller of the deluding potency, Maya. Okay, so Maya Adisha. The Isha means controller. No? The controller of Maya is Ishvara. Whereas Jiva can be controlled and conditioned by Maya. This already we mentioned before. The Jiva is a tiny spiritual portion, Chit Kana, of the unlimited Chit Tattva, Sri Krishna. Therefore, from a philosophical perspective, the Jiva is considered to be a different Tattva from Krishna. You understand? The Jiva is considered a different Tattva. Why? Because he's a very tiny portion of the unlimited Tattva. Krishna is unlimited Tattva, but Jiva is a minute part of that. However, the Jiva is an energy of Krishna, and for this reason, it may be accepted as non-different from him. Because it's part of Shakti of Krishna, then he is considered non-different from him. For this reason, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the Jiva as Ved Aved Prakash. He taught Achintya Ved Aved Tattva, literally inconceivable, simultaneous difference and non-difference between Krishna and his energies. He compared the Jivas to sparks from a fire or rays from the sun, and accepted the Jivas as eternally separated, yet non-different expansion of Krishna, Vivinamsa. One can never establish Jiva as Parabrahma simply by quoting peripheral and subsidiary statement of the Vedas, such as Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Brahma. Only Krishna or Vishnu Tattva is Parabrahma. Because the Jiva is also Chit Tattva, it is called Brahma. And in this way, we're referring Brahma here as like spiritual, like spirit, Brahma. But as far as Parabrahma, Supreme Brahma, the unlimited, Jiva is not that. The effulgence emanating from Parabrahma, Sri Krishna Swarup, is called Brahma Tattva, the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Indirectly, Krishna expands his splendor outside the universe as this impersonal manifestation of inconceivable, imperceptible, and unattainable Brahma. Krishna enters everything inside the universe in his expanded form of Paramatma. So, last time we were discussing the Advaya Gyan Paratattva. When we talk about this Advaya Gyan Paratattva, Bhagavan, the Supreme Person, there's three aspects. No? Remember that? What is the verse? You always quote it. Vedante Tattva Vidas Tattva. What is it? Vedante Tattva Vidas Tattva Advaya Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan is subjective. He said those Tattva-vid, those knowers of the truth, they have established, they have declared that the Advaya Gyan Paratattva is known as Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Known as this. So, now we can quote this verse and we don't get confused because already this has been explained to us. You know? But when this verse was first manifested, who was to whom? Who, the scribe of Bhagavatam. That's Ganesh. You know? When he was spoken to him, then he became confused. Because actually also Ganesh is very intelligent. You know? Ganesh. Ganesh, everybody knows Ganesh. No? He's got elephant head. He's the son of Shiva and Parvati. And yeah, he's very intelligent. One time they have a race. You know that, Bila? Narad Muni, because he wants to show also, like, he wants to humble down the others and also to teach something. We know Narad, he's always expert in making like controversy. So Narad, he organized like a race for the demigods. And each one, they have their own carrier. You know, like, who's the carrier of Brahma? Yeah, I don't know the name, but there's this one, Hamsa, no? There's one for Shiva, there's the bull, Nandi, like there's for Durga, you know, is lion or tiger? Tiger? No, there's lion, something. Okay, whatever. But like that. Then, you know, like, there's Ganga or even Yamuna, they have a carrier like crocodile or makara, like this. But Ganesh, you know, the carrier of Ganesh? It's a mouse. It's a mouse. So then just imagine that, they have a race. You know, they have a race. And like, look, like Brahma has a swan and they're flying, and Nandi, there's bull, and like that. You have the race who can circumambulate like the earth, like this. Or the universe, or the earth. I think the earth, like this. So then, so then they organize, like this, and go! And everything, and Ganesh is left behind. He's with his mouse. But what he did, he just got a leaf, and then he wrote Ram, and that one he circumambulated. Not once, circumambulated many times, and he's sitting down, like this. So then, Narad Muni, he was watching, and then everyone, later on, they all came, like that, and Ganesh is just there. So they said, who's winner? Winner, Ganesh. Because actually, he also circumambulated not just the whole universe. I mean, not just the earth, but like the whole universe, because the name is there. You know, name of Krishna, and different from him, from Krishna, everything else is coming, like this. So he's very intelligent, Ganesh. So when Vyasadeva had to manifest also the Shastra, especially Bhagavatam, then he's calling Ganesh. Like you write, you're a scribe, very good memory. So Vyasadeva, he told Ganesh, like, I want you to write, I will dictate to you. Then Ganesh had some pride also. So he said, okay, but you have to be very quick. Because if I become bored, then I will stop. Like that. So that means don't stop. I'll write, like, not stop. So then this Vyasadeva is okay. But one condition also. You cannot write unless you understand. First you have to understand, then you write. So then, okay, so that's very easy. You know, we think this is very good. So this is just in the second chapter of the first canto. Yeah. When this verse was spoken, then Ganesh was like, what is that? He said, Advoyagyan. It's like only one, not two. But he's telling three. Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. He was thinking. And this way, Vyasadeva, like, telling so many verses, you know. And so then Ganesh, like, later on, I don't know the rest of the story, how like, he figured it out. But us, we're not confused. Our Goswamis, our Gurudev has explained. Now, that really, Bhagavan is Paramatatva. He's the source of like all. But according how we perceive him, then he is called a certain way. If you see him, see his only personal aspect, then he's called as Brahman, because Brahman is just his effulgence. And that's impersonal. But he is there in every atom also, localized. And in your heart, in every atom, everywhere. And that's Paramatma. But he has his own original personality. And composed of, in full, these 6 qualities. Or we've discussed this before. What are, remember that? Aishwarya, Virya, Yash, Shri, Jnana, Vairagya. We discussed this already last time. So that is Bhagavan. So Bhagavan, he is the original personality of God. And part of an aspect of him is this Paramatma and Brahma. So realizing only the Brahma is not complete realization of Bhagavan. It's only an aspect. So he's saying, indirectly, Krishna expands his splendor outside the universe as this impersonal manifestation, this Brahma, of inconceivable, imperceptible, unattainable Brahma. Saying unattainable. Then he said, Krishna enters everything inside the universe in his expanded form of Paramatma. Now, the inconceivable Vivinamsa expansion of Krishna, the Jivas, take innumerable forms. How many forms are there? 8,400,000 species of life. They take innumerable forms such as demigods, humans, yakshas. Remember yesterday? The yakshas, they are followers of Kubera, no? Descendants of Kubera. The Rakshasas, what's the Rakshasas? The like man-eating demonic species. Sometimes Prabhu will joke, this Rakshasa. Actually, I remember one time they were telling me this. Gurudev, he was in the West, in Europe, and he visited, he was invited, like, oh, we go to Vatican. In the Vatican? Which country is the Vatican? Because it's a country by itself, no? It's in Italy, huh? And he said, this is where all the holy people, Christian, that is like the main person in their parampara. The followers from Jesus, then make Peter, and then parampara continues. They're there. And so, yeah, they invited, they asked Gurudev, we want to come, like, have, let's see. So they brought Gurudev in the Vatican. And there, when they were there, Gurudev saw there were like all these young cows, and so many. Gurudev actually became happy, like, oh, they have, like cows and like this. And they're all like going. And then he asked, like, where are they going? He said, oh, they will be served later, for a meal, in the church there. So then they will be killed and eaten by them. And Guru said, then why are we here? This is place of Rakshasas. It's like, we should leave immediately in this place. So, yeah, there's this Rakshasas, the man-eating, like cannibals, not like cannibals. There's animals, birds, aquatics, insects, ghosts, and spirits. Amongst all species of life, a rarely attained birth in the human species is best because it affords an opportunity for the jiva to become qualified to attain bhakti to Sri Krishna. Now, yeah, generally this is the thing. In human form, then this is a very rare opportunity. There's so many forms of life, but especially the human form, it's not very easy to attain. And this is like your gate, to go out like this. But yeah, mercy of Mahaprabhu, that's a different thing. When Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu also, even like animals, even plants. Mahaprabhu embraced these palm trees and they become liberated. And he went to the forest and chanting names, and all these tigers and elephants, they're all dancing like this. They're kissing each other and chanting Harinam, So then they begin to experience their dharma automatically. But that's special mercy. But generally, for the jivas, like only in human form, this is like a rare opportunity. And said, this is the human birth is best. And this is like the opportunity for jiva to become qualified to attain bhakti. Even after achieving a human birth, the jiva undergoes the results of his karma either in the form of heavenly delights or hellish experiences, controlled by Maya since time immemorial. The jiva forgets Sri Krishna and moves throughout the universe in order to satisfy his many varieties of material desires. Okay, so this is our story. Now, the jiva is Anu Chaitanya, minute Chaitanya, minute conscious entity. Anu. While Krishna is Purna Chaitanya, complete, complete conscious entity. And the real nature of the jiva is to be a servant of Krishna. Forgetting his eternal nature as a servant of Krishna, the jiva becomes bound by Maya. However, by remembering his true nature, the jiva is free from Maya and is again established in his true swarup. So this is like a very simplified way of telling our situation. Like we forget that Krishna is our master, we forget that we are the servant of Krishna, and therefore we are bound by Maya. When we remember, then we become, we establish in our nature. We become freed from Maya and is again established in his true swarup. So we can take the analogy of water. Water has its real nature, has its nature. And the nature of water is always liquid, soft, like this. But when you put this water in the freezer, then the nature of the water changes, like this. And it seems like it's not there. You know, like you won't find it when the water becomes like ice, then no more liquidity, like that. So it's like now we're like this, the water in the freezer now. So we are in the spiritual world. We are part of the Tasta Shakti. We're part of actual Shakti, which is servant of Krishna. And the nature of that is like servant, like water. Okay. But now it's happened, and that is not our, it's not like our, like really, it just happened. Something has happened by chance, you know, like that. And this is the thing, we're part of the Tatastha Shakti. It's not like you can choose. You know, we're part of this Shakti and we're there. Okay, so now we are part of the Shakti that now we're in the material. So we put in the freezer, and now we become like ice. But it does not mean like, oh, you're not this water. You know, now you're completely forgetting your nature, like ice. But your nature is there, like water. The moment this ice is taken out from the freezer, or like maybe the freezer no power, you know, like somehow the freezer is unplugged, you know, then you begin to melt. So when you stay with the sadhus, it's like now the freezer is unplugged, you know, somehow the sadhus are there. And then this ice begins to melt. Then you begin to remember your true nature, like that. And so then, and ultimately you're taken from the freezer, then really now completely your real sort of manifests like this.